Dick Van Dyke was reportedly upset when Mary Tyler Moore quietly shared details that touched on the complicated reality of his affair without any advance notice. His infidelity during his first marriage was far more complicated than what the press ever presented. The public version left out darker elements that were kept hidden for years. As someone who was very close to Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore naturally knew many things about his private life, details he worked hard to keep out of public view for decades. Her rare comments offered insight few people ever heard.
That I was opening his mail and he made me promise that I wouldn't do that anymore, but he began to suspect that I wasn't being truthful.
My name is Dick Van Dyke, not a stage name. In 2 weeks, going to be 91.
I wanted to pay great tribute to the first film because it means so much to me, and I, in a way, wanted to protect it.
Dick Van Dyke's return to Mary Poppins.
Before we get to what she revealed, it's important to understand the bond they shared. Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore's on-screen marriage on The Dick Van Dyke Show became one of the most loved relationships in television history. Their chemistry felt real, and their off-screen friendship was just as strong. Their first meeting happened under unusual circumstances. Moore later admitted that she told one small lie to land her audition. She claimed to be 2 years older than she actually was. According to MeTV, that lie ended up opening the door to a partnership that would shape television for years. At first, Van Dyke had doubts because of their age gap. In a 2017 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he explained that the 11-year difference made him unsure about casting her. She was only 23, strikingly attractive, and spoke with a mid-Atlantic accent that reminded him slightly of Katharine Hepburn. My first question was, can this girl do comedy? Then I thought, she's a little young for me, he said. Those doubts didn't last long. Moore's audition quickly put them to rest. Her timing, confidence, and presence stood out right away, convincing Van Dyke and the casting team that she was the right choice.
They hated everything. They thought I was a loser. How come I was 30 and still wasn't married? Wasn't Ed Asner's character Jewish? What about Rhoda? Why is she so mean to Mary? All of that stuff.
Looking back on that first encounter, Van Dyke said he was impressed almost immediately. He later said he was able to watch her grow into the performer she became. She was just the best, he recalled, speaking about how quickly she developed as an actress and comedian. Their roles as Rob and Laura Petrie set a new standard for sitcom couples. Their marriage on screen was built on humor, respect, and warmth. The way they interacted felt natural, which helped viewers connect with them. Much of the show's success came from how well Van Dyke and Moore worked together and how believable their relationship felt. Away from the cameras, their friendship continued to grow. Despite his early concerns, Van Dyke developed deep respect for Moore. They understood the pressures of working in television, and that shared experience brought them closer. Their playful exchanges and steady support for each other were clear both on set and in their everyday lives. Van Dyke often praised Moore's discipline and talent. He admired how easily she moved between comedy and drama, and felt that her range set her apart. Her work on The Dick Van Dyke Show marked a major turning point in her career and proved she could carry complex material with ease. Even after the show ended, they stayed close. Moore's later success with The Mary Tyler Moore Show confirmed her place as a television legend. Van Dyke remained proud of her accomplishments and often spoke about how meaningful it was to have seen her rise from the beginning. In a 2003 appearance on Larry King Live, Van Dyke and Moore reflected on their instant connection, as reported by Buell. Moore spoke warmly about how quickly she felt comfortable with him. She pointed to his kindness, humor, and talent as the reason she felt drawn to him. I loved him. I loved his kindness, she told King. I loved his humor, his dancing, everything about him. I felt connected to him." Van Dyke agreed and admitted that they shared a small crush on each other during the show's run. He even mentioned a psychologist once pointing out that their constant laughter during takes suggested mutual attraction. Moore, joking as always, added, "It's sexual tension, and that's how you release it." Their playful energy fed into the chemistry audiences saw on screen. In a 2016 interview with Oprah, Van Dyke looked back on their youthful crush and described working with Moore as fun and free-flowing, almost like improvisation. That ease allowed them to create scenes that felt natural and spontaneous. After Moore passed away in 2017, Van Dyke spoke to The Hollywood Reporter about her impact on him and on television comedy. He remembered how fast she picked up comedic timing and how, within just a few episodes, she had everyone laughing. "That show was the best 5 years of my life," he said. "Outside of her family, I don't think anyone was more proud of her than I was. Watching her grow was a joy." He ended by recognizing how deeply she influenced television comedy and how lasting her work remains. The respect and warmth between Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore were obvious during their years on The Dick Van Dyke Show and long after it ended. What they shared went beyond work. Their bond was personal, genuine, and it shaped their performances in ways that stayed with television audiences for decades. From their first meeting, Van Dyke and Moore connected in a way that influenced both of their careers. Van Dyke initially worried about their age difference, but that concern faded quickly. Moore's talent, confidence, and natural charm made the gap irrelevant. She balanced sharp comedic timing with emotional honesty, which paired perfectly with Van Dyke's mix of humor and warmth. When they appeared together on screen, everything felt natural. Their scenes flowed easily, whether they were trading jokes or sharing quieter, emotional moments. Viewers could sense that comfort and trust, which is why Rob and Laura Petrie became one of television's most loved couples. Because of how close they were, Mary Tyler Moore became aware of parts of Van Dyke's personal life that were not public at the time, including his affairs. According to Mary, Van Dyke's marriage to his hometown sweetheart struggled under the pressure of his growing fame and demanding career.
Going on to celebrate a big birthday this weekend, Mary Poppins' Dick Van Dyke. How can you not love that man, right? He turned 90 years old.
By 1976, Van Dyke was involved in a relationship with Michelle Triola, who worked as his agent's secretary. Mary explained that Triola, who had previously been in a relationship with actor Lee Marvin, was very different from Van Dyke's wife, Margie Willett. Margie had little interest in Hollywood and preferred spending long periods at the family ranch in the California desert. Triola, in contrast, was fully part of the entertainment world. Van Dyke later described Triola as sharp and strong-willed, noting that she understood show business far better than Margie ever wanted to. He explained that the relationship did not begin suddenly. In his memoir, he wrote that his feelings for Triola started in a harmless way. He would come up with excuses to call his agent, simply to hear her voice. Those phone calls became frequent, slowly turning into lunches. Over time, the lunches led to quiet dinners in dimly lit restaurants where they hoped to stay unnoticed. Van Dyke shared these details openly in his memoir, explaining how one step led naturally to the next. What began as a friendship built on shared experiences turned into a secret relationship. While the secrecy brought excitement, it also exposed how much distance had grown between Van Dyke and Margie Willett. Van Dyke had married Margie, his high school sweetheart, in 1948. Together they raised 4 children, and for years appeared to have a stable family life. Over time, however, the demands of Hollywood and Van Dyke's rising success created separation between them. Margie wanted a calm, private life away from attention, which clashed with Van Dyke's increasingly public career. As his work expanded, the gap between them grew wider. His role on The Dick Van Dyke Show and other projects required constant appearances and social events. That world was far removed from the quiet home life Margie valued. Michelle Triola, however, was comfortable in that environment. Her past relationship with Lee Marvin had already introduced her to Hollywood's pressures and routines. She understood the pace and expectations, which made her someone Van Dyke felt he could talk to openly. The relationship with Triola became a turning point for Van Dyke. It brought the differences between his life and Margie's into sharper focus and eventually led to the breakdown of his marriage. His willingness to speak honestly about the affair in his memoir shows how complicated his private life was behind the scenes. Mary Tyler Moore later shared that Van Dyke was overwhelmed with guilt after admitting the affair to his wife. In his book, he described how draining it was to live two separate lives. Managing his marriage to Margie while maintaining his relationship with Triola took more energy than his demanding television work. I worked harder going back and forth between my two worlds than I did on the show, he wrote in his 2012 memoir. He also admitted that the stress caused him to lose several pounds in just 2 months. He told people the weight loss was due to work, but later admitted the real cause was the pressure of dividing his time between two strong and attractive women. In his follow-up book, Keep Moving, he wrote openly about how deeply the guilt affected him. Eventually, the guilt became too heavy to carry. Van Dyke confessed everything to Margie, which led to their separation in the late 1970s and their divorce in 1984. When Mary Tyler Moore spoke about Van Dyke's relationship with Michelle Triola, she described the connection as meaningful and intense. Around 1975, both Van Dyke and Margie had gone through rehab. After that period, Margie chose to spend even more time at their desert ranch, further stepping away from Hollywood and the life Van Dyke continued to live. During that time, Van Dyke found emotional comfort with Michelle Triola. She was easy to talk to. She understood me, he later wrote. What began as simple conversations slowly turned into something deeper. Van Dyke later described Triola to The Guardian as strong-willed, intelligent, and very familiar with how the entertainment industry worked. At the time, she was involved in a highly publicized legal battle with actor Lee Marvin. Their 6-year relationship and the lawsuit that followed led to a major court decision that helped establish palimony rights, according to the New York Times. That legal fight added strain to Van Dyke and Triola's relationship, but it did not break it. They stayed together for 35 happy years. Van Dyke said they talked about getting married more than once, but they never chose a date. Not being married did not lessen what they shared. Triola's sharp mind, her understanding of Hollywood, and her strength kept Van Dyke close to her and helped their relationship last for decades. Heartbreak came when Van Dyke's first wife, Margie Willett, died from cancer. Not long after her passing, Triola was diagnosed with lung cancer herself. Van Dyke later described the moment her doctor found a spot on her lung and confirmed the diagnosis. Looking back on that time, he told The Guardian, "When she asked if she was going to die, I pretended I didn't know. The hardest acting I have ever done." Van Dyke tried to protect her from the full weight of the truth for as long as he could. As Triola's condition worsened, she slipped into a coma. In his memoir, Van Dyke described the final days he spent sitting beside her. Doctors told him she could still hear, even in that state. So he did what felt natural. He sang to her. He talked to her. He stayed close, hoping his voice might bring her some comfort. His actions during those final moments reflected how deep their bond truly was. Triola passed away on October 30th, 2009, at their home in Malibu, California. She was 76 years old. Her death closed a long chapter in Van Dyke's life, one shaped by shared years, companionship, and love. The loss was deeply painful for Van Dyke. He had spent more than 3 decades with Triola, facing both good times and hard ones together. His reflections show a relationship that may not have followed tradition, but was steady, supportive, and meaningful. Their choice not to marry never weakened the commitment they had to one another. Van Dyke's memories of their life together and of Triola's final days reveal a partnership built on trust, care, and mutual respect. Her influence on his life went beyond their personal relationship. She stood by him as he dealt with the pressures of Hollywood and personal struggles. Her support played an important role during difficult periods, including his fight with alcoholism and the demands that came with a long and successful career. Van Dyke's life shifted again in 2012 when he married Arlene Silver. Speaking to Parade, he said, "It was one of the smartest moves I ever made. She makes me happy. She's very mature for her age, and I'm very immature for my age, so it's just about right." This marriage brought him a new sense of happiness and calm. Their story began in an unexpected place, the 2006 SAG Awards, where Silver was working as a makeup artist. Van Dyke attended the event and immediately noticed her. In a 2013 interview, he said it was her eyes that stood out to him. Silver remembered the moment differently, but warmly. "I knew him. I just didn't know how I knew him," she said, explaining that she recognized him more as a person than as a celebrity. Their connection later turned professional when Van Dyke hired Silver to work on a film project. Spending more time together allowed them to form a deeper understanding of each other. That bond grew even stronger after Triola's death in 2009. During that painful period, Silver became a steady source of comfort for Van Dyke. She often stopped by after work with food, offering company and care when he needed it most. She was such a support. "I fell in love," Van Dyke recalled, crediting her kindness with helping him heal. Despite an age difference of 46 years, the two found balance in their relationship. They married on February 29, 2012, choosing Leap Day for their wedding. Speaking to The Guardian about the age gap, Van Dyke said, "We don't feel the age gap. I'm emotionally immature, and Arlene is very wise for her age, so we meet in the middle." That mix of playfulness and maturity became a key part of their life together. By their first wedding anniversary, Van Dyke spoke openly about how happy marriage had made him. In another interview with Parade, he said it felt unbelievable, and once again called marrying Silver one of the smartest decisions he had ever made. He openly spoke about the happiness she has added to his life, making it clear how much she has influenced him. In a February 2022 interview, Van Dyke openly credited Silver for helping him stay upbeat and full of life. "Having a beautiful young wife half my age to look after me, that works. My positive outlook comes from my wife," he said. His words make it clear that Silver has played a strong role in keeping his energy and outlook high. Their relationship has never been kept hidden. It has often been on display through public events and joint creative work. One standout moment came in November 2018, when they attended the premiere of Mary Poppins Returns. Van Dyke, who appeared briefly in the sequel to one of his most famous films, walked the red carpet with Silver beside him. Their appearance together reflected their close bond and shared excitement as they celebrated his long-lasting place in entertainment. Beyond red carpet events, the two have also teamed up creatively. In February 2022, Van Dyke appeared in the music video for "Everybody Loves a Lover," a song by Arlene and the Fantastics, the band led by Silver. His role in the video showed that his love for performing is still strong and that he enjoys supporting Silver's work. The video didn't just show them working together. It also captured their light-hearted and affectionate connection, something that has defined their relationship over the years. Silver's involvement in Van Dyke's life goes further than emotional support. She has taken an active role in honoring his long career. She appeared prominently in the CBS special Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic, which aired in December 2023. The program celebrated Van Dyke's achievements, and Silver's presence made it clear how central she is to his life. One especially warm moment showed the couple sitting together inside a replica of the famous car from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. As they watched the show, they shared memories and enjoyed the moment together. It perfectly reflected their bond, built on shared history, respect, and genuine happiness in each other's company. According to Mary Tyler, Van Dyke's story also highlights how difficult personal relationships can become in the pressure-filled world of show business. The period when he was involved with Triola was more than just an affair. It was a time filled with emotional strain and deep self-questioning. His honest reflections in his memoirs give readers a closer look at the struggles he faced, revealing the personal side of a man many only knew as a screen legend. What do you think about Mary Tyler's comments on Dick Van Dyke's affair? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.